Yeah, I don't have any messages from.
I'll call it order.
Call the meeting to order, there you go.
Call the meeting to order.
Approval of minutes should be next.
Yeah. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Why don't I do the introductions now if we can?
Okay.
And then we'll roll right to the county anyways and some conversation. So I want to thank everyone from the county for being with us this morning. Ray Golick is our chief contact that I go to. Ray's our area engineer and such, and I'll let them introduce the team. But we'll introduce our team here from the city, but I'll start with Allison Kinderfather, who's on Zoom. She's a member of our commission. So Allison.
What would you like me to say?
I guess I just said it all. I realized that after I heard it. So thanks, Allison. So go ahead.
I'm Julia Lenig. I'm a member of the board here and also a business owner in Crossroads, a women's boutique.
Julie Campbell, I own Webster Art and Picture Framing in Crossroads.
Jeff Sanders, I own a building at 8780 Big Bend. It's a multi-tenant office building.
Vera Cavato, Acting Director of Public Works.
Jason Flynn, I'm traffic surgeon.
Brand Sidicum, I'm with the commission here.
And then Heidi Buttswagen is our chair. We expect her today, so she'll probably be walking in here shortly. I did want to, for the commission members, I think you saw the memo that I had attached to the agenda. What I really wanted to lay out before turning to the county is we have talked obviously about beautification. I'm going to use that term, beautification, street poles, potentially, things like that. Ray, you guys correct me if I say anything wrong, because I want to make sure we get this all right and we're on the same page. But we have essentially two parallel projects, okay? The county project that's grant funded that we are a partner on financially meets the roadway resurfacing and the ADA improvements and such, the sidewalk, lots of issues that are very important to you all and we'll talk about today. And then we have to plan, subject to the county's approval on there right away, what if we're going to do different light poles and such and figure out our city plan for that project as well. Ray, did I get that boiled down pretty correct?
Yes.
Awesome, great. So without further ado, you all don't want to listen to me. I'm going to turn it to you, Ray, and the county team.
So Eric and commission, thank you for having us to the county to explain this project. And I will turn the floor over to Glenn and Clory to explain the rest of the project.
Yeah, hi, my name is Glenn Henninger. I am the manager of the planning and programming section at County DOT. And with Ray and I is Corey Neely. She is the current project manager in engineering, running the design with the consultant.
Can you just tell us all the consultants' name? We've got like 3 different acronyms, I think, that we've all just used that probably aren't the right acronyms. So
CDG.
CDG, thank you.
Campbell.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I know that they all have acronyms, it seems like. So I will start sharing my screen. It's been a while since I've been on a Zoom. There's so many different platforms out there. Let's see here. All right, can you all
Good,
see?
Glenn. Yep.
Can y'all see Google Earth?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so several years ago, the city approached the county for a permit project. This is the railroad running through the middle of the screen. Big Bend pretty much parallels the railroad and it crosses, so it goes from the north side to the south side. And then on the right side is the Elm intersection, which I think everybody is interested in some improvements there as well. Several years ago, we were approached as a permit job to allow the city to do some improvements within the business district, change traffic patterns a little bit, get rid of the oddball part-time parking, which I've never been in favor of anywhere on the county roads. And they got permission from our operations group to go ahead and get rid of those restrictions. That the benefit in peak hours just wasn't really worth having all that extra payment in the the speeds that come with extra pavement and the added benefit of full-time parking for your business district. Just convinced our operations group. We received a concept plan from Cochrane Engineering, and I was going to bring that up as well to see how well you think we mirrored that within your limits, and I could not find it. But pretty much the limits of that concept plan went from west of Elm. Upgrading busy intersections is not expensive, so we were not going to try and pin that on that project in any way, but it only went to the railroad. Understandably, you know, it was, you know, for the Crossroads Business District. Problem being that the county had also, and I'm sure you're aware, a couple of years before that, performed a road diet west of there. So you cross I-44 and head towards Berry. We had done a 4-to-3 road diet in that section. So if we had allowed the city to just do the Cochrane plan, which would have been a road diet in the Crossroads Business District, we would have been going from 1 through lane in each direction to 2 through lanes in each direction in front of the railroad, and then back to 1 through lane in each direction once you cross I-44. And that was just not going to be possible. There would have been a lot of merging and passing and safety issues with that possibility. So then there would also been pavement needs within that same section that the county would have had a hard time getting funding for since it was so short. What the city and Ray and I had come to the conclusion that a partnering project was called for. I know it extended your timeline a little bit, but I think we're just going to end up with a much better project for the whole area. So what this funded project that Eric mentioned is, it's going to improve Elm. It's going to get you what you wanted in the business district itself with the full-time parking and bulb outs. And then it will complete the road diet, so there will be 1 through lane in each direction from Berry, well, all the way east to, I think it opens up at Lockwood.
That's correct. Yeah, Lockwood.
Yeah. So what we have, we are pretty much done with the concept plans. We mirrored, like I said, what Cochrane had designed for you in the business district. We talked to city staff. They asked that we come to this meeting and present it to you all. And once we do that, we need to coordinate a larger public meeting, invite just residents from the area and get some comments and opinions on what could be better, what they think of the plan, and we will proceed with preliminary plans. So I will show you that one. All right, can everybody see this screen okay?
You see a bunch of pavement, yep.
So this is South Gray Avenue. There's the end of the old railroad station right here. Technically, this is actually MoDOT's to maintain as it's approaching their bridge, and they will be replacing their bridge shortly as well. We tried to get that incorporated into our project. They are going to be using that space, the extra space, for staging of equipment and such while they're doing their bridge project. But they did promise that they would mirror our striping patterns and would be including a resurfacing all the way up to our project limits with their bridge. So everything will be new eventually. So the striping you see on this page is really just kind of temporary until MoDOT finishes their project. Moving east from there, was the area that was of concern to us to try and keep the way it was. Here's the old railroad depot again. We'll be striping out 2 lanes and keeping 1 through lane in each direction. We'll have all new pavement, all new sidewalk, and a new entrance into the railroad's depot. And moving on from there is where we really get into the area of interest for you all. Once you cross the railroad, we still have 1 through lane in each direction. We try and clean up the Baker Gore intersection as much as possible. A little bit of curb work, bulb outs, some striping changes. With the road diet now, we are now able to provide a left turn, dedicated left turn, so that anybody turning left into Baker or Gore can do it outside of the through lane, which is always a good thing for us. And then also in this area, we will be, and there's a house here with a driveway directly on the corner. Not much we can do about that without actually buying him out, and it wasn't worth buying him out. Hasn't been really causing a safety issue. Speeds are supposed to be fairly low. And then we will be replacing all of the sidewalk, all of the approaches. We will be adding a striped and signed crosswalk with refuge.
Glenn, do you want questions as we go, or do you want it to go through the whole project and come back?
I'm good either way.
So just real quick, Glenn, when you talk about sidewalks, is it the same width as the current sidewalk, or do we see a little expansion? I can't remember what ADA is in terms of actual sidewalk.
So the county has a standard that goes a little bit beyond ADA when sidewalk is at the back of curb.
Okay.
We try wherever possible to go for a minimum of 6 feet. If there is a green space, we will follow ADA, which is a width of 5 feet.
Okay, got it. And then we'll have ADA ramps at all these crosswalks and such. So this isn't just a step down curve, it's a ramp. So
Right. So
I want to just make sure everyone's.
anywhere you have the shaded area, it's what we call a truncated dome.
Okay. And then those hash marks are the build outs, those are bump outs coming into the street on Baker, sorry.
Well, that's more a curb relocation. Right now that comes in right here, and it just Baker and Gore come in really close together.
Yeah.
So with what we've been trying to do for several years now is just make the best use of the existing space we have, and kind of direct people, not necessarily get right away, but just massaging the footprint to increase safety. And what we found is that there's a lot of unneeded pavement in this area. Our predecessors had a tendency to go large, and were rather conservative with how much room somebody needs to make turns, things of that nature. So we try and skinny things up wherever possible.
But thank you. The reason I asked about it, when I wanted to just, from a traffic safety, I know, because we're talking about safe streets around the city and areas. When you have that extra pavement and you bring it out, and those turns, that theoretically is going to slow the turn, right? A driver's not going to have a tighter turn, it's going to slow the turns, right? So
they'll still be able to make the turn on pavement. They won't have to roll over the sidewalk or anything, but they will have to go slower.
just want all you to know these nice little facts so that you can have it when you're talking to people.
Glenn, I have a
On the
question.
next sheet-
Glenn,
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question on the crosswalk. Is there any consideration for raising these crosswalks, kind of like what they're doing in Kirkwood, where it actually creates a speed hump? Because that crosswalk, if that was a speed hump, would really slow the traffic down as it comes around that corner.
Yeah, Corey, I don't know if that's been discussed yet, but it has been discussed on other projects.
Yeah, that has not been brought up for this one yet, but.
So I won't say it's not a possibility. It will depend on budget, and it will also depend on drainage.
We'd really like that to be a consideration anywhere there's a crosswalk in the district, because that really does control traffic speeds.
And Glenn, is that a middle island refuge in the middle there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so the pedestrians have a refuge in the middle.
Like that.
Go ahead.
While we are on this page
Sorry,
as well,
I was just gonna ask, like,
Go.
I'm not sure who is speaking. So is that like Eric and all of Webster? That's what you would want to see too?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so yes, the district is always like that, the raised crosswalk and, anything to slow the traffic down without.
Okay,
putting
I'm
poles up.
I'm just asking because, once we start getting public comment complaints, it helps to have the city on board with us, so we're a united front on that sort of thing.
So it's a desirability. Certainly the commission wants it. I think the city, I'll say for city leadership, we support that. We understand the budget thing as well. I caveat everything with, gotta make it pay for it, but figure it out, so.
Right.
As Vera gives me the eyeballs over there, so.
That is a big dangerous intersection.
It's a dangerous intersection, so we all agree with that piece, so.
Yeah, same thing.
So,
all right.
Allison, did you have something to say? I'm sorry.
I just said I like the median, the, what do you call it, the safety
Refuge?
refuge. Yeah, I like that idea. Not only does it help the crossing, but it helps the traffic stay in the lanes that they're supposed to be in.
Well, and having barriers like that just slow people down in general, which is what we're after, so.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a visual cue. It's I won't call it clutter, but it causes just visual friction that you're in an area of pedestrian activity. So one other thing I should mention about sidewalks in this area, you're probably aware that the sidewalk on the south side really goes nowhere. Does not go across the railroad. Then it's kind of sandwiched, that area is sandwiched in between Big Bend and I-44, so the chances of it ever going anywhere are minimal. From the get-go, we had planned on removing this portion of sidewalk that is hatched. Since that time, trying to squeeze our 6-foot sidewalk at Beckett Curve here in front of Arts of Entertainment. We were impacting, so what you see colored here is in green is called TSCL. That's what we will be asking and negotiating with property owners to just give us rights to make grade or just make very minor changes to make everything fit. What's shown in pink is permanent easement. That means that it's what we build. We will need that space to build it and maintain it in perpetuity. Like I mentioned earlier, our back of curb sidewalk standard is 6 feet. The sidewalk is currently at 5 feet. So our consultant understandably tried to get it to be shown at 6 feet. The site itself is kind of pie shaped, so it does get very tight on the west end. And to widen that sidewalk to 6 feet makes it even tighter. Since it didn't go anywhere to begin with, we have come to the conclusion, and as long as nobody at this meeting has any reason not to, we are going to get rid of that sidewalk as well. So the pedestrian experience on the south side would end at this crosswalk. So rather than pinch down even further the maneuverability for this site, we would actually increase it. Question we still have not answered in our heads if we go forward with that plan is actually what to do with that space. So currently we have, the narrower sidewalk at back of questionable curb and one large entrance. So if we just take the asphalt all the way to the back, all the way up to the curb, and we put in the crosswalk about here, is it just, asphalt? Would you be worried about people backing out and possibly backing over the curb? Does there need to be anything delineating the parking lot from the curb area? It's just not a normal thing for us. And this has all happened in the last week or so. So we haven't.
Absolutely, it absolutely needs something to keep people from backing out into the street.
Yeah.
Because they use that all the way up around the edge of the building to back out into the street.
Yeah.
You can see where the van's parked if you pull back up again. They just drive in there over the
Okay.
curb. There's
So, go ahead.
he's kind of been backed in that space off the street.
If we start with the sidewalk, Glenn, on the sidewalk alone, I didn't see any issue with the
I
sidewalk
don't either.
ends.
Nobody's going that
If
way.
you, and then for the school's kid safety, I'm gonna involve Sergeant Flannery now and the kid walking to they're gonna go on the tracks. That's a whole other separate to solve. But generally, if there's not a sidewalk, pedestrians migrate to a sidewalk if they're going to follow the rules. So
Yeah.
not having a sidewalk didn't seem to bother me. But I wanted to make sure that piece before we got into the whatever goes in that space was all good. Because that's a little change from where we have been, so.
That is good to know. What we could do, rather than increasing the parking lot hard space, since the county already does control that 5 feet, we could replace this sidewalk other than the approach with green space. But that would have to be maintained.
With a raised,
We would
Right.
just remove the existing sidewalk and put in sod.
so no raised curb that they'd bump up against.
Well,
And I
there-
think this is one of
there-
our questions, Glenn, is maybe sitting down, and if you know the property owner, that'd be great, but the entrances are wacky on this site. We would never, if this came in for development, no way would we ever have this wide of entrances. And, if we could clean it up a little bit, we'd be interested in that. But we don't want to come up with something that's just going to be a non-starter when we get to property acquisition, because of course we need easements on this property. So that's another reason we wanted to sit down and talk to you about, do you know this property owner, how they're using the site, and yeah, what we could live without as far as entrances goes here.
I'll let the commission members speak to the entrances and thoughts. I have some, but I want to let them, it's their meeting, so.
It's gonna be a tough sell with that owner.
Okay, no, that's why we wanted to talk to you. Okay, that helps.
That said, federal grant project, we can't shove in sidewalks that are too small, things like that. I mean, there's also the limitations of we're gonna rip the roadway up, so you're redoing things, you've gotta follow some new rules, so. One of the things that popped up in mind is and you'll see that other file about signage and the possibilities of gateway entries. See, in some places where they have very skinny spaces, they call it vertical type of installations. Is there a public art installation that goes in to help give you some vertical space there? Very skinny but tall type things as well. So from our side on our project, just to say, is that a space? It's not much of a space, but I'm just putting all the options out. So that owner, I think we can help you set up a meeting and then we can figure out how to go from there. So.
Because they have semis that make the deliveries and they park and stray. I've seen them do strange things.
But
It's
maybe
a
if they
tough
have
sell.
less options to do
Yeah, I mean, and Glenn, maybe I'm speaking out of turn because I'm not in right away, but I think that would make a whole lot of sense if we could set up some sort of meeting with this property owner before we pay a designer to come up with something that's just a no-go.
Okay. I think we can do that.
Oh, yeah, if you could help facilitate that, that would be awesome.
So can I do it, Glenn and I, or am I going through Ray? Don't make that
Yeah,
happen.
everything goes through Ray.
That's fine. I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, then, continue moving east. This is where the road diet starts to pick us up the width to put in the full-time parking. We try and delineate that parking wherever possible with bulb outs. The bulb outs are going to have a slot along the curb, so they won't be, connected for drainage purposes. Makes design much easier. Don't have to have as many inlets for stormwater, things of that nature. Again, both sides, new sidewalk, new approaches. The striping for the parking, the county does not do that. We'll do a longitudinal stripe, but we won't do the stripe that delineates individual parking space.
This is one that Vera and I can actually say we're gonna do, so.
Is there striping there now?
I think there's striped, right? Sergeant,
No.
are they- No.
Since it's a through lane in peak hours, currently it's just striped as a travel lane, and there's just signing that says you can't park here
Right.
during this time, or you can park here during this time. I don't remember what the exact language is. But there'll be one through lane in each direction right in the middle. There's not really enough room to have a center to a left turn lane and parking on both sides. And we realized that. We just went, I won't call it nuclear, but I don't know who talked our operations guys into it, but I was shocked to find out that they approved this traffic pattern. Again, changing the intersection footprint at Alma, kind of like.
Hey, Glenn, sorry to interrupt. Can you go back one page? I wanted to zoom in on a specific item, and I think this would come up later in the meeting anyway. So do you see where that inlet is right there? Your hand's pretty close to it. Curb inlet on
Here?
well, yeah, just to your right. Anyway,
Right.
can you pop into street view on that real quick?
Sure.
Where that is, please. Basically, we have, okay, so here's the light pole, and it's going to be a conflict. If this was a regular project where we weren't, working with the city and knowing you have different desires, we would work around it, get our 4 feet or 5 feet or whatever we need for ADA and move on with it. But since we are talking lighting, I guess wanted to check in on placement, because this is definitely a conflict that, like I said, will mess with our ADA sidewalk here. And so if you have any thoughts, I guess, on it, are these light poles getting removed and replaced? It sounds like yes. And then if so, can we get a better location for getting a pedestrian route?
So let me just surmise what the commission's conversations we've had is that this was not on the table when we were doing the Cochrane plan, right? And now we've added that from the city's administration side. And I've heard, I think they can all correct me, that they would like light poles and the possibilities of that. Namely, I think you saw on the list I had, they don't have any spots for banners over the road, potential banner, placement that we know we have to work with you on that, but polling and such like that. So I think, yes, we have not set heights. We've not done any of the kind of what height. Is it an overhang light? Is it a candlestick? What we call the ones we have in Old Webster, Old Orchard, just the lamp on top of the pole. So we're way at the beginning of that.
Okay.
That could be moved back into my green space that's right on the property line between my building and Art of Entertaining. There's green space on the southern side where those cars are parked. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could move it behind the sidewalk. You did
Okay.
an easement.
That's what I was after. If that's a potential to where, and even if you're getting new lights, but you're just wanting to put them back where they are, that would help us in our design to know, okay, that's an obstacle we still need to work around. Best case is, yes, it would go back behind the sidewalk. We don't have to do that, but.
And I would give up that one parking space on my lot there where that empty space is. I'd give that back up or grant an easement there to go back into green space with that parking space. Since we're gaining all these street spaces, I can lose a space and give us a green space there.
Okay, so this is your property here?
Good to know.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's great to know, because this inlet
And that's where the sign could go if you're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Or an art
Okay.
piece.
Yeah. That's great. This, and we'll definitely be talking to you in right away acquisition because this curb inlet we're looking at, this presents an issue for our ADA ramp because we don't have enough room to ramp someone down before we hit that driveway. And so if you look back at our plan, Glenn, right now we're having to go around that curb inlet, which is odd, but there was really no other way to get that. So sounds like you're on board with working on us, so that's working with
Yes.
us. That's great. Thank you.
So the gray dash line is the current internal curb right here.
Yeah.
And the solid black is what we are currently proposing. All right.
Cool. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so moving on from there, at Alma, we have bulb outs almost all the way around. Just delineate the parking area, shorten up pedestrian crossings. At this location, I don't think a raised crosswalk will be possible because of drainage. We we will definitely investigate further though. But we are, removing a lot of pavement, moving some curb, directing people to take their turn slowly. And other than that, I'm not so sure there's much else to talk about on this page.
Let me say that you're taking away the boss's parking spot there on the corner.
What? Which parking spot is that?
The northeast corner of Alma.
On the intersection, sort of right, there's a point of, not on the streetway. I go to the left a little bit, and then right there, right where your hand is, up, off the sidewalk, right, Allison?
Yeah, he does that gray, Sarah. You can see a car there on behind under the green and pebbles.
Oh, there. Okay, let me find that.
Yep, right there.
Okay,
There'll be lots of full-time parking on the street.
I don't know.
Lots of full-time parking on the street.
I'm gonna call that an Alma call. I mean, if there's not supposed to be any parking right here, whether or not that's curb or whether or not you're supposed to be crossing
Is
this.
there
I
even
don't
an
know.
entrance? That
No, it's just a low curb.
okay. So
I have to wait for
you
the
could
curb,
even
that's what we
be
do. out
driving over that.
here.
That's 25 years of asphalt overlays.
Yeah.
So, our proposal does not really change that condition.
True, yeah.
It will make it much more difficult for them to go. Well, they already have the planters in front of them, but if they, for some reason, would like to drive out this way, they
Nah,
would, they would have to back out onto Alma.
I think he does that anyway.
So,
Yeah, that plan, the pebbles and everything, that's really just hatching for pavement and but after we build the ramp and then putting back the pavement. So it's
Okay.
more or less would be same as existing for that car.
so
Okay.
that honeycomb symbol is for type C asphalt. So just to get everything to fit, all of the new ramp, the sidewalk reconfiguration, depending on elevations and how it meets the existing asphalt, they would be putting back that same asphalt.
Oh, okay.
Now, if with the increase in on-street parking, if somebody wanted that space to be green, we could increase our TSCL and go ahead and put it all back green and not have that spot. But we were not planning on changing that condition. We just have to change the elevation of some of the asphalt a little bit just to make it all fit.
Okay.
Glenn and Corey on bulb outs, can I ask a question that our Green Space Commission is going to ask about this project? Are the bulb outs solid concrete or is the interior a green well that water can drain in and pool in and such? Or be a planter in such a way? And to the commission, then if it is, what do you think about that and the aesthetic of that? Works great in some places. I don't think we have any in Webster though, at all in that regard, so.
So with the size, we were planning on solid concrete.
Okay.
I don't know that we would, the speed limit's posted 25, I believe. I don't believe we would be interested in planters too close to the road, but I wouldn't think that it'd be too big an issue if we could get them set back as far as possible. But for now, they are planned to be solid concrete.
I was really thinking of just the sort of well with the rock at the bottom, you know what I mean, to drain out, to pool water, collect it, and then let it drain and release slower. I don't know if that's a valid concept or not, or needed. I just would, the various options you see in cities, so.
Yeah, I think we need a little bit bigger area before we start thinking along those lines for to really do any good.
And I guess I'll add that most of the time when you're doing that sort of design is because you have to be treating the water, where we're not necessarily changing patterns in impervious pavement, adding impervious pavement on any of this. So that
Guarantee at the public meeting, we'll get 3 of our members. I'll ask you about that. So just be aware.
Yeah, no, that would be great, but those designs can get very pricey, and usually there's a reason you're doing those is because you have to get the water based on MSD. So.
And it's just a maintenance issue too.
Sure. Oh,
These are no maintenance.
Yeah.
We put planters out there, we can do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just,
Right.
Is any of this hazardous to bicycles?
Well, bicycles will have to share the road. Well, they'll have to ride around parked cars and they'll have to ride around the bump outs or bulb outs, excuse me. But Big Bend is named in the St. Louis County Action Plan for Walking and Biking for a shared use path. Through this area with the way the buildings are configured, the existing sidewalk there, our shared use paths are 10 feet wide. There's not going to be any way to really ever do that. So it will most likely be beyond my tenure, but whoever replaces me will have to really be thinking about parallel routes when the bike network in this area really gets going. Luckily, the speeds are well supposed to be low, I should say, but yeah, as far as a dedicated bike space, it's going to be very difficult, even without the bulb outs.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything can be done, but it's what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up the parking? Are you willing, that sort of thing. And
right. And we didn't think that you would want to
right. We thought that would be a non-starter.
I don't think you guys want to give up parking, so we
need the parking.
Yeah, we need the parking. So yeah, I mean, it is a concept though. I mean, obviously the city's very keen on the biking aspect as well. So we might be talking, how do we path around this area and such? So Jeff, you got some property and you'll go over there now. So. If I ever speak to public works, you tell me that.
And then we get to the east end of what was contemplated as a permit project, and we added the Elm intersection into this. When we first started talking about a joint project, Todd got us in touch with the school district and some concerned folks about how children get through this busy intersection. And you will notice that we kind of lose the aerial and the striping. This was a different plan. Our consultant has a sub working on the intersection design, so it was a little bit behind. But what we are doing there, other than the continuing the parking on the south side becomes a right turn lane. So that will go away approaching the intersection. But with just anywhere, kind of the same deal with Alma, Gore, and Baker, is anywhere that is not absolutely needed for cars to make their turns or make their through movements gets curbed. Bulb outs, the islands are getting revised to just create as much pedestrian space as possible, fixing the alignment of crosswalks as much as possible. With the skewed intersection, that is very difficult, but fixing the skews is also very and expensive. So it wasn't, for this maintenance type project, it just wasn't on the table to try and fix skews. And we think we've done the best we can without much impact. So
Glenn, you mentioned you may need a few feet of the city's property on the southwest corner, is that correct? Right on the right turn lane, right there?
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Okay, so. With city, I don't have a problem, we'll figure that out, but we're moving some properties around as well. The city's got a couple things and pieces we'll be talking to them about, so.
How about the area in front of the Baywood Union where the cones are now? Are we
Up on the north side of,
are we far enough down Big Bend to stop the parking there? Because it doesn't look like it from that drawing.
So what dictated where this new curb goes is this turning movement with I don't remember the exact size of vehicles, and you guys probably wouldn't care about the acronyms anyway. But we got our consultants some information from you folks as far as what kind of trucks may or may not be entering on a regular basis. We always realize there's a chance, one-off chance for once a month, maybe even once a week, larger vehicles of needing to get into the area, but we try not to design for that because that just leads to the larger in the problems with fast turns that we're trying to fix. So that there is a need for a truck to be able to turn up into this area just to get straightened out. And we did hear about the parking issues recently, and we're still trying to figure out just what to provide in this space for the truck. All they really need is a hard surface. It doesn't necessarily need to be flush and paved the same as the rest of the road. So to make it obvious that where we are expecting the parking to start. And then that's still under consideration.
so we could rumble strip it or something, I can't remember what the words are, you keep someone at road grade, but you're creating texture in a way that you don't belong in your car to park and such like that.
We have been, we've mainly been doing it in right turns, and the place you would see it most likely today, if you drive many roundabouts, on the inside of a roundabout, they have a truck apron. So it's kind of a gradual elevation change from the road surface to the top of a curb. And, but it's an area that the pavement's thick enough to be driven on by large vehicles, still uncomfortable for a car to traverse. So we've been doing that in large right turns lately. We haven't built any of them yet. They're still all under design, but that's a possibility. It's just still something we're considering, but we do have the communications about the parking that's not necessarily wanted in this area. So
it's being addressed, and that was the point.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Just glad whatever we do there, it is possible to paint, right? And we could throw red paint on it, more visual cues, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we don't want them to paint more things. I'll start painting things.
Yeah, I mean, truck aprons are normally like kind of reddish stamped in general. We don't necessarily.
On the roundabouts, they have a contrast. Yeah, they try and contrast with the drivable pavement.
I mean, cause you're gonna wanna, yeah, let a car know where where it's
Rather than
going
just
down.
putting a little sign, I mean, it was like a vibrant red, no park. I don't
Yeah.
know, into the state, I don't know. but- We put up a lot of signs, but it still doesn't stop people, right, Sergeant?
Yeah. The important thing with that idea is to pay close attention to curb types and curb heights. You know, you can have a vertical face, which is obvious and could hurt your car depending on how fast you hit it. And then, you know, you have a very gradual mountable curb, which you see in like subdivisions. And then anywhere in between, there could be different heights of curbs, different angles of that face to where the truck knows that they can use it, and it still makes it very uncomfortable for a car to traverse even at low speeds. So, like I said, we'll be definitely paying more attention to that space before we finalize any designs.
And there's the triangle over by the gas station, northeast corner, that's bigger, I believe, correct? It's a enlarged triangle and refuge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the existing today, so you know, we provide a white stripe, usually 6 inches to a foot outside the face of the island. And that's where we are fairly certain is a space that's not needed for cars, because if we think cars are going to be rolling over it, that just creates a lot more striping maintenance. And you can see here that that stripe is a lot further from the face of this island, which, you know, told us from just preliminary, when we look at these for the application, you know, we look for any kind of instances like this where it's obvious that that could have been increased and made for more pedestrian friendly refuge, shortening crossing distances, and especially ADA wise, the way it just had one cut through coming out into both crosswalks, that is a big no-no. So the proposed is much improved in that regard. And the same goes for the larger island in the opposite corner. It also just kind of crosswalks met at the nose of the island, and it's just, you know, it's an old outdated design. Sure, it was fine 50 years ago, but
The pedestrian walk is shorter now, correct? Over the major skews?
so,
Is it?
so I would say that both Big Bend crossings are somewhat shorter. The Elm crossings are probably about the same.
You know, Glenn, oddly enough, that northeast, well, is north up, yeah, kind of
Yes.
northeast, island is not that much bigger. If you look at the existing. I don't know.
Well,
I have a meeting with the consultant. I can make a note on asking why, if they ran auto turner, what. Isn't that weird?
this skew right here is probably this right turn is going to be very difficult for anything. Now,
Well, then I guess the question is, what's our design vehicle? What kind of vehicles are making that turn? I mean,
even for an SU40, that might be difficult, but that is
Yeah.
another place, depending on budget, because it wasn't considered in the TIP application. That is another place we could consider a truck apron.
Okay.
Make note of that.
Yeah, we have a meeting with the consultant on Friday, so I can ask a couple of those questions.
That would further slow down that turn and shorten the crossing. So that is the proposal. The signal equipment itself will be replaced as needed, so it's not a full signal rebuild. Just that some of the signal equipment is going to be in the way of ADA, and there's going to be minor adjustments. the northwest corner right now. Both crossings come together and we are separating them. So we will need all new pedestrian equipment in this corner. But other than that, it's not a full signal rebuild. It's just as necessary.
Feedback, folks?
Looks good.
So to answer Glenn and Corey, Old Webster, Old Orchard, there's sidewalks are big enough that we can have benches in places, you know, there's plenty of refuge space for ADA to still get through. I don't think we have that. I just want to make sure, unless we get green space like Jeff has talked about, we don't have a lot of spaces for those pedestrian facilities. Is that correct? Are those?
I would say that in general,
Glenn,
Glenn, lost-
you cut out a little bit, Glenn.
okay, I would say in general, that is a good synopsis. We don't really detail what's going in this area that we're removing pavement at Alma. If we keep that all hard space, there's nothing really pushing us to put it back as grass. There might be enough space in that corner to do something along those lines. But
really one space.
No, you don't have the width for benches.
Right, which I think we knew. I just want to make sure everyone was on the same spot, so we know though. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll be lucky to get 6 feet of sidewalk on the one side of it.
Yeah.
It's gotta be 4 or less now.
Right.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's also the curb relocations at Baker and Gore, but that's a little bit outside of your area that you would probably want benches.
Yeah.
So this space right here will most likely just become green.
Okay. Any
That's
questions
all.
for Vera? Obviously, Vera's department, Public Works, is who we'll work with on the city project inside. So you saw the sheet I sent out for elements, things that you might want to see as you drive around and see things in the district. So Vera's team will be the people that we work with and engineers and help coordinate this all. Obviously, getting county's permission to do what we're gonna do. So we'll be involved with them. Is there anything else, folks?
Glenn, I have a question. You said earlier, sorry, it's not really related. You said Big Bend is a new bridge. Is that a resurface or is that a totally new bridge?
That's a totally new bridge.
Okay.
Wow. And so
Well,
go ahead, Glenn.
I was just gonna ask Ray, I don't know when the last time he got an update on the MoDOT schedule is, but
I thought it was 27.
yeah, since we did the road diet to the west, and we now have the plan for the road diet to the east, they are going to be able to save a good bit of money on their bridge plans, and they will only have one through lane of pavement. Right now it's striped out and there's a lot of unused bridge space, so the bridge footprint will get a lot smaller than it is today. Sure, there'll still be pedestrian accommodations on one side. Ray can put you in touch with their area engineer if you don't speak to him on a regular basis.
Public Works, yes, that one falls just outside the district. Obviously affects them, but so we will be, because we want to make sure we don't have an end of road bridge type thing again. Sorry.
Well, there's 2 bridges. So are they gonna do one at a time or are they gonna do both? And I'm sure, I know that's a MoDOT question. I just didn't know if you.
2 bridges?
Yeah, it's
What do you
actually
think
2.
bridges?
They're separated. It's 2 different, they're really close together, but 2 different structures.
That I think they'll just take it down and there'll be one structure.
Yeah, they'll like a
2 lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know traffic impact and.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, it would be a closure.
Okay.
That is probably something you guys would want to keep an eye on.
Well, that's where we're gonna go next is schedule. So per the federal grant, 27 is construction on the project we just talked about and the bridge. 2 different projects, but that's the timeline, correct?
It is still a timeline as far as I know.
But east-west could move that up if the, but my point is we could end up earlier. Good.
Well, East-West Gateway has been begging the LPAs, the local,
Agencies.
sponsors to, accelerate project schedules wherever possible. The biggest impediment for us recently, well, it's always been, has been, right-of-way negotiations. And, like I said, when we were looking at the plans, you know, the green is TSCL. We still have a document detailing what we are allowed to do with it in that area, how long we may need it for, how it will be left for the property owner. And then the pink is permanent easement. These are just preliminary. But each individual property owner, once we get the right-of-way plans approved, will be approached, you know, given that the idea throughout the business district came from you all, there is a hope that there would be right-of-way donations, but we are required to tell you that, and I'm sure you think of it too, that your property is worth money. So if donations are not in the cards, our second hope is that none of these go to condemnation. If nothing goes to condemnation, that saves the schedule 6 months. So there's a slight chance it would go before 27, but we won't be counting on it.
The plan doesn't call for any, there's no way to get to condemnation of a building that's sitting. It's all level ground outside of buildings, correct?
Yeah, it's all small strips adjacent to existing right of way just to get everything to fit and give us room to maintain what we build.
Pause recording. Good job. Go tell your friends. Okay. We had a great meeting. And
Thank you.
the public meeting that we talked about, I did commit both the district and the city that we will, just as we're financial partners, be partners in the engagement and helping to get the public involved in this meeting and such. So we have engagement. So we don't have anyone saying, when did this come up?
Okay. So that was gonna be my last ask was, is there a preference for this public meeting? We've been doing a lot of them virtually lately. They've had success. If you want to have it in person, we'll be glad to do that as well.
Members, I'm looking at you guys. You know your fellow property owners and business people.
Either way is fine with me.
Probably get more attendance if you would like this virtual we did today.
Okay.
Allison, you're still on?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just a neighborhood representative. I don't represent a business. I can't really say that I can get somebody to buy in on watching, but I would try.
Okay.
Probably, like you say, a Zoom would be easier than trying to get them out to a meeting.
Yeah. Well, and another good thing about that is we record those and we can put them up on the website so that people can watch it anytime.
Okay.
We're all in. Glenn, Ray, what else do you need from us?
At this point in time, all we need to do is get that public meeting set up. It's a part of the MoDOT policy. They have what they call an RER process. It's request for environmental review. Public meeting's a checkbox. Once we get the RER approved, we can, you know, finalize right-of-way plans. Then that's when we'll start the individual talks about just what it takes to get this project done.
So, and then we on our side will begin to look at our elements, the things that we want to include, you know, on our project in conjunction. And I'll connect with you about schedule to make sure we have all of our stuff ready for you. Prove here I'm gonna connect. It's her world, not mine. So, but make sure we're all on the same page. So we have you're not waiting on us. That's what I want to get to.
Okay.
I have
And,
one last question too, sorry, before we end. Parcel 13, I think you're actually zoomed in on it Glenn, but that building, there's a building right here on it. I guess, is that a law firm or something? Do any of
Was a
you
law
know?
firm.
Oh, okay.
It's Chris's building now.
Yeah, that's Chris's building.
So the two buildings to the west of that are owned now by the third building. That one you're talking about is owned by that parcel.
Okay, I'm talking about this. Where go to the right, Glenn, this building.
That
Yeah.
building there
Yes.
is the third building. He owns two more to the
Okay.
west, to the left.
Okay, I guess I'm just asking, so there were some planters out there when we did our survey and they're gone now, and I don't know, it just seemed like they maybe were doing some work very close to the right of way, and then some of the stuff was on right of way, and anyway, if you knew that owner, I was just gonna see if,
Oh, yeah, he's part of the commission.
okay,
He's not here today, but
He's just out of town, but I don't think there's anything permanent there that would be in the easement.
no, it just looked like some stuff has changed since we got our survey, and it looked like it could have been.
Yes, but this
No,
picture doesn't show, they do have a flower box in front of both of those windows on the street side, and they've got a sign now in that green space, that oval green space.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that now.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it just seemed like those planters are kind of like on our right of way now, and so
They took all the green space, the green in front of the building, and
thank
now that's all
thank
planters.
you. That's the problem. Street view's out of date, and yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that could be an issue, so that's why I was like, if you guys knew him or if.
he's on the commission. He'll be at the meeting, so we'll be able to have a private meeting with him. We can talk about whatever right away things we need, so.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So if we haven't shared yet, all of our projects in the last couple of years have gotten their own specific project page on the county website that has status.
Yeah, they
upcoming-
have it linked in the agenda, Glenn. They have it
Oh,
linked in
they
the
did have
agenda.
one. Okay, cool. That was the last thing I was gonna mention.
All right.
Super. Thanks to everybody for your time.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. What's next?
New business.
DCM, Deputy City Manager of Community Vitality, is a new position in the city. It's technically below me, but it's a manager level like me. It is going to be the manager's level that oversees public works, planning and development, and fundamentally the business districts. So I will be transitioning out of the business districts in the BDC, and that person will be transitioning in. I still have finance, I'm still gonna be involved. This will probably be about a 6-month transition once they're here, which is probably not till May. So really, I think the bulk of this calendar year, you're gonna have me here still, just to help that person. There's still too much up here now, I've written down in some places, so, but, still very important to me, the work you all do, and so. Effectively, funding is all finance work, so I'll still be involved with you all, but day-to-day stuff will be going to that person.
You said this person hasn't been found yet.
The recruitment is closed, so we
Okay.
have 28 applications, I believe, so, very good applications. They're in review right now to winnow down to winnow down the first review and then move forward on there, so. So I would expect. We'll probably make an offer somewhere in April and then probably onboard May to June, so.
So that individual will report to you, or what's the?
Reports to Dr. Peoples, so.
Okay.
So Dr. Peoples, the pyramid, Dr. Peoples, me, this person's in the same level as me, but down like half a notch. The down half a notch really doesn't matter to me, but they've been very clear to keep saying that to me, so. So, it is for this area. People are probably like, I've never heard of a deputy city manager of community vitality. You see that title a lot, especially in the western states of Colorado, in that area where how you take land use policy and all the infrastructure of a city and how that affects community growth and vitality. So
Well, we'll miss you, but that sounds
I'll
exciting.
be around, trust me. I have a feeling I'm gonna be at half the meetings at least, so.
Okay, good.
Next item is BDC update.
Not much since our last meeting. We are still exploring the SID model and working on a subcommittee to explore what that looks like. That's a huge undertaking we decided to go for that, so there hasn't been much news to report, but if anybody has questions on it or wants to join the subcommittee, we are looking for a diverse group of business owners and property owners from across the city. So
Any questions? City update?
I guess council members done that. Sergeant, do you have anything on parking?
I don't.
Okay. City update, there's many things going on. I'll start with the budget is going on. So, your budget is submitted, as we talked about at the last meeting. If there are things that come up throughout the year, we can amend the budget. So not a problem to move forward on that. What's I going to bring up? Comprehensive plan. So the city has engaged, last night, the firm, what's the name of the firm, Barry, you run the. We engaged a firm that's going to be helping us with the comprehensive plan.
BGAV, local fund?
I know it's
Out of Chicago.
out of Chicago. So it was a heck of a selection process. There was 5 great submissions. So I cannot remember the name. Lakota, thank you, Lakota. City has not updated the comprehensive plan with some map updates in 2017, but otherwise we're on the 1978 version. So most states, it's 10 to 20 years you update your comprehensive plan. We've got it, it's time. That affects land use as well. So this is going to be a big conversation for you all as well. And part of that, the city's strategic plan couples in with that, the economic development plan. So as they start on that process, then we'll have a bid out for who's going to write the economic development plan. Much of the conversation around the CID has been, that whole idea. What do we do with the resources and such? So those are the things we're kicking off. Budget is taking most of the wind in the room and things. Events are coming up. I'll talk to Chris. We've got a couple feedbacks from police, but his permits to be approved for their special events. Just some technical changes and notice to neighbors and such. So those will be approved heading forward. So summer's here. It's coming. Mayor, anything public works since you're here? You can say no, they want to go.
Not really, just working on the SS4A FY 2023 grant application or grant agreement with FHWA. Working on that with Eric and Dr. Peoples. We're very excited about
$2 million.
that. 2.1, almost 2.1. So that's very exciting.
So next meeting, April 17th,
That's it.
and I move to adjourn.
I'll move. I'll second.
We're adjourned.
There we are. Hi, Allison.
Bye-bye.